In this video, we will see how to add a background with compositing. So here we have a little scene that I did prepare. Okay, I did just use this demo file over here. Okay, under cycles here, you have here the Nishita Sky demo. So I did use the assets that are in this file and add a few things. I did just add some mountains into the background and a droid that I did create that I did show you already. So this is basically the setup I use. So here you see basically how it looks like. Okay, this one is a little too little here. Maybe we might scale it up and put it over there. Okay, will it work well with GX and GY? Okay, to put it far, a little more far here. Yes, looks better already. Okay, good. So just to have something in the background here. So here we have our basic setup to make our rendering. And here what we have in rendered view is this. Okay, so without all the lines and the armature and everything, we have something like this. So a kind of dark light, okay, kind of night setup, just with a simple here, just with simple lights here, a sun and a few other lights that create this kind of blue background here, blue backlight over there. Okay, so we have this kind of setup, and to start compositing we just would like to add a background here. Okay, and to start compositing we need to make a render first. So let's go and make a render with F12. I just use basic here setup for cycles here with render as 64 to have something quick. Maybe I can increase that to have better resolution in the end, better details, but let's make the render first. Okay, so we'll make the render. We can see that everything is working fine. I did just add a little of mist already with a cube with some volume information there, and now I have this kind of render and I would like to composite that. So let's go with this and let's jump into compositing over there. Okay, so what we have here is a render layer and a composite. It's a little like all the node setup that we did see during the training. So for the shader and everything, so when you make Ctrl Shift click, you have a viewer node and it appears into the backdrop here if you have a render. Okay, so here I made my render and it appears into the background. Honestly, I don't like using that much that background because it makes a lot of information here and you have the nodes above the image and everything. I don't like it that much. So what I use usually here is the image editor here and go into the viewer node. Like this, I have my image that will appear directly here. And here we don't use the backdrop anymore, we just use the nodes. So we'll use the nodes here and the back and the viewer node over there. Like this, we are sure that we can see directly what we are doing. So basically how it works, compositing, you add some nodes between this and the final compositing. Okay, so for example, we could add here a color, adjust, maybe use saturation value. And in that case here, if I change the view, okay, with Ctrl Shift V, I can see the result directly and showing what's happening. Okay, so it's a basic setup and you can make adjustments very easily with that. So what I will do for this, I will just add a background. I did download the background into Pexel, so pexel.com. Okay, it's very good to find some free images to search for some background or some skies or nice things like this. So I have this image here. I will open this image this one, okay? So this image looks like this, and I would like to use the sky of this image to work with. So let's go with this. And the first thing that we need to do, you can just with Shift A input here an image, okay, or image sequence or image, or as you want, or you can just click and drag and add this here. With Control Shift click, you will have the result into the viewer, just like that, okay? So now we switch from one to another, and the first thing we notice is that the scale of the image is not the same at all. Okay, so we would like to match that, and for match this, we just have a scale node. Okay, into the transform here, you have the scale, and you just go into the image, and here you use the render size. Like this, in the end of this, you will have the same scale, okay, for your image. So we'll have the same scale for this and the same scale for this. Now we just want to add the background into that. So let's go with this. And for this, we will use an alpha over. The alpha over, as it says, it's add something into the alpha of your image, okay? So basically you put the image here, and you can see that into the render layer, you have the alpha here. So if you make a Control Shift click again on this, you will see the alpha and how it looks here. So it looks like this now, okay? You have the depth as well, the noisy image. So let's go with that. And we will plug this alpha as a factor, and we will plug this one into here. So like this, what we have is this now. What is good with this kind of setup is that you can manage the one, this one or the other if you need. So let's add, let's say, for example, a color. I like to manage things with color. Where is the curve? Adjust here to RGB curves. So let's manage this with your RGB curve, for example. So you can add RGB curve into that one and an RGB curve into that one as well. So let's add another one here, okay? Not into the factor, but into the color. Sorry for that. Yeah, into the color. Good. And we put the composite in the end, the composite in the end like that. So what is good with this is that I can manage the background directly, okay, if I need to. So something like that might be okay. Good. And I can manage the colors. Maybe I want a little less red here, so I can put a little less red. And like this, it will match a little more the color of what we have here, for example, okay, for the background. And the same here, maybe I would like something a little more reddish. So let's go there and increase the color here and match this for both. Okay, so now we have something that match better the result. And you can add whatever node you want here. So for example, here I did use RGB curve, but everything that is inside the adjust here will help you a lot to manage this. So you have the exposure, you have the gamma, you have the hue correct, you have the hue saturation value, the RGB curves, we did see that, the color balance, the brightness, the contrast, a lot of things here that you can play with. Everything like in Photoshop actually, that you can manage the colors with that, okay? So for this, it's already a good result, and we have already something interesting into this. Okay, so let's continue for that, and we might play a little with this. I don't want any animation, sorry for that. I come back to the layout here. Yeah, we had some animation there, but I just want the frame one here. Okay, come back to compositing. Maybe I would like something a little less saturated for the sky, for example. So what I can do in that case, I just add another node here. So you can see here an adjust, and we will use hue saturation value over there. And like this, we can manage the saturation if needed. You can see that now maybe 0.9, we will have something that match a little better, okay? So, and then after you just play with the background and the color of this to match as much as possible what you want. But honestly, we have something that looks already pretty cool. And we will continue this into the next video. So it will be short videos, little videos just like this, to can show you how you can improve your image and finish with a nice render that you can share to the public. So let's go with this, and into the next video we will see how to add some mist into your render with compositing. We did add a little of mist already with the volumes, but we will see that we can add more mist into our render just with the compositing. So we'll use that into the next video. In this video, we will see how to use the mist into compositing. So here you can see into the view layers of the file that here you can enable a lot of things into the render layers. Like for example, you can enable the mist, or you can enable maybe ambient occlusion or things like that that you can add directly into the compositing. You can add direct, indirect, diffuse, glossy, transmission, some volumes as well. You have a lot of possibilities here to play with the rendering. But let's play just with mist and ambient occlusion to show you basically how it works. So when you made a little change here, for example, I did enable mist and ambient occlusion here. So if I want to just update this, I have to make a render again. So let's make a render again. Or if you don't make this, you will not have the values that works properly into the compositing, okay? So good, we have our render that is done, and here what we have now into the render layers, we have the depth and we have the mist, and you can see the mist looks a little like this here. Or we have the ambient occlusion over there. As you can see, nice setup that we could use as well, okay? So let's say, for example, here I will come back just with the mist, okay? You can see that by default I have not a lot of information there because the depth of the mist is not big enough, okay? So what we can do to manage that, you can go into the mist path here. And to see that into the layout here, you will have to measure basically how much you need here to have enough depth into that, okay? So let's say here we come back into the world setting here, into the mist path, and maybe we will go until 50 to see if it works well. And let's see a little how it will appear now. So if I make F12 again, I will have to update that with F12. That's why it's good to play with really low values of rendering in the when you make your compositing. Like this, you are sure that you can play well with the settings. Okay, so let's try with this. Okay, we see a little more. Okay, it starts to be better. And let's go with this and add a color ramp into that. Okay, so as you can see here, now we can manage the depth a little better and see a little more what's happening. Okay, so you can increase or decrease this if needed. So in that case, I might increase a lot these values to start to see the mountains. So in that case, I will maybe put 20, and let's say 400 just to see the result and how it works basically after that. Let's make the render again, see if it will work well. And now after update, okay, so it's finished here. Now if we come back and update that, we see a far more better result into that. Okay, so now what we will do, we will add these values here. So we might add some values just like here, for example. Okay, just the mist around here might be good. Okay, starts to look good here. And what we will do, we will add this into that one, into the foreground, just like this. So let's go into that, and I will just use a color mix add. So it will be a mix color, and I will use an add because I want only the white parts to appear. Okay, so I want just to mix this and that and see how it works. Now it will be a little like this, so I can play with the factor to have something less strong for sure. Let's put 0.1, something like that, just to have this kind of more misty things here. Okay, what you can do as well is change the color of the mix by adding some, maybe you want something with orange keys or something maybe bluish like this. Okay, let's play a little with something a little bluish like that. Good. And now what we have in the end, it's this that we can remix with our background because we don't want the blue there into the sky. And here what we have will be something like that. After, you just have to play a little with the settings. Maybe the mist is a little too much. 0.08 might be good, maybe. Yeah, I like it better. So okay, so before I mute this, before we had this, after we have this. Okay, so it adds more depth into the image and make look the background here more realistic for these objects over there. So that's it for this one. So you can see that you just have to manage the mist pass here and the depth, and you will have something interesting. Let's say you would like to add some ambient occlusion into that too as well. So let's have a look into the ambient occlusion over there. Okay, you can see it's a little noisy, but it looks interesting, honestly. So let's go for that and add some. So for this, you just have to use a multiply. So I would just duplicate this add here and change it to a multiply. And I will use basically this color over there into that image. So what we will have in the end of this one, okay, if I increase this, you will see this kind of darkness that will appear. Okay, what is good is to put this before the mist, or you can see that it kills a little the mist. Okay, so what is good is to put this one here, okay, and this one over there here with the mist and with the basic image over there. Okay, so now you can see that we have this multiply value that you can add to it, okay, just like this, and see the result after with the mist. Okay, so now let's say we would like to add something like 0. So be careful because it kills a little the shadows if you add too much, but maybe something like 0.4 might be good in that case. Okay, let's see a little how it looks now. And we have to use not this one, but that one here with the color correction. Good. So now we have something interesting. So before we had this, okay, in the end of this one, After we change a little the RGB curves, after we add a little of ambient occlusion everywhere, and we add a little of mist into that. And then we can finally mix it into the alpha over, and it will give something like this, okay? So far, so good. Let's continue a little. Maybe I will add a little more colors, a little more lights into the global setting, just like this here. Looks a little better. Good. So now we have our basic setup, and we will continue now, and we will add more things into the next video. So into the next video, we'll see how to use the glare actually. So we can see some parts of the image are with lights, like here, okay? And here as well, we have some lights. So we will use these parts to make some glow and make it more interesting. So for this, it's a very basic technique, but works very well to add some glow or some more interesting stuff into your render. Especially with shiny things. For example, if you render jewelry, it will work very well, but it will work for lights as well to make some flares. Okay, so let's go with that. In this video, we will see how to use glare effect. So first of all, we will organize a little things here. So we have here the background that we can put into a frame. So I will add just a frame over there. Okay, so it will be again a layout. You know a little the system. It's exactly the same like other node setups. You just click and drag into the frame here. You rename the frame. Here it will be background. Okay, good. So we have the background. We will use the color. It might be a blue background like this. Okay, and then after here we have the mist and ambient occlusion over there. Okay, so just like this. I think there is a shortcut to frame something with the, maybe here. Yeah, you just have to go there, I think. Into nodes and search here for join in a new frame. So Shift P. Shift P. Let's go, and we have a new frame. So this frame now we can just rename AO and mist. Good. This one might be the color you want, maybe something like that. And we continue for that. Good. So here after the alpha over, what we would like to put here, it's some glare. So a glare is an effect. It's a filter here that you can find here. As you can see, you have the glare effect. So what it will do basically, it will take the lighter, the places that are the lightest here. Okay, so for example here, the one that have some lights into it directly like this, and here for example, okay, and it will take this and add this kind of nice kind of streaks effect like this. Okay, so works well for what we need. Just by default it works well. What I like to use actually, it's add several glares. So what I do in that case, I just go into the here, so the highlights for the threshold here, for example. If you decrease the threshold, more colors will be taken. So okay, if I put 1, it's only the colors that will be above 1 that will be taken in consideration for this one. So here, for example, the sky and everything will not work because there is no real light in there. So it will not go above 1, okay? So in that case, it will be only what has some emission into it. So here we have basically this effect, but you can play with the settings to play with the effects. So what we will do, we will just go into the output of this, and you can see that you can have only the glare, for example, here. Okay, here it's only the glare, so you can see the result. Basically you can add and see the highlights, for example, so the places that are highlighted. And like this, you can see with the threshold what you take in consideration or not. Okay, so for example, if I decrease the threshold or increase the threshold, I will have different effects. So let's keep it at 1. By default it works well. And let's take the glare here, and what I will do, I will just add the glare into the image with a mix. Okay, so I will just, like this, I can manage more what I want. So I will add a mix color here. Okay, and this mix color, I will take the add value here. So this is the image here, comes from here, the basic image that comes from here, and I will mix it with that one, so the glare, and we will have this with the add, and now I can decrease or increase what I want here. So what I like to do with this glare is not have only one, but 2 or 3 glares. So the first one might be a little with less fade. Okay, like this I will have less big amount of let's say 0.2 maybe. Yeah, something like that, just a little streak like this. And I will add another one, exactly the same. Okay, we will continue that. Exactly the same with an add like this. So I will just duplicate that. Okay, use the basic image as a reference, like this, it doesn't go too high. And here I mix this image with this image. So now we have 2 glares basically, this one and that one. So in that one, I want only, and I will show only the glare here. I would like only 2 streaks to have this kind of effect like this. Okay, and with a big fade, like maybe almost 1. No, 1 is far too much. Maybe 0.9 might be good for this. Yeah, something big like this. Okay, with a strong, yeah, with a strong setup. So like this, what we have in the end of the first, it's this. In the end of the second, we have this more only into this side over there. Okay, so you will have this kind of nice effect. What I like to do is added some glow as well. So I will use same the glare again, mix that one to that one, and add another over here. Okay, and now I will not use the same settings here, so let's go there. And you can see by default it's tricks, but I can use bloom, for example, and we will have this nice bloomy effect over there. As you can see, it works pretty well. So sometimes you can we increase the strength at 2? Yeah, we can. So look, we can have a nice glare, a nice bloom just like this. Okay, maybe even 5 might look better. Let's see a little how does it look. Okay, so in the beginning we had this. Okay, after we have that, and after finally we have this. Okay, to have a nice bloom over it. And we can even play with more settings, like for example the glare can add some. Here I continue there, so again I mix it with this one and takes the original one here. Okay, and you can play with other options here, like for example you can take ghosts, and it can create some aberrations, some photographic aberrations that you can find in real photos. Okay, so you can play with the threshold and everything to have more and or less, or depending what you want. Okay, so don't hesitate to play with that as well. It can add a little more definition and more realism to your setup, just like that. So let's see if the color mix here, yeah, it's a little too much, maybe just this looks good. Play a little with the iteration to see how it looks. Okay, I like honestly I like the 4 or the 3. Okay, maybe the 3 is enough, just like this, and I will just see the result over there. Okay, we have this nice effect over here. Looks good. Now what we would like is to add a last option. Okay, it will not be a glare, but it will be something, it's a kind of aberration. Okay, so for this we will go into here the distort. Do we have some transform here? The lens distortion here. Okay, so we have the distortion that will create a kind of yeah, let's say ball, reflecting ball effect, just like this, but it's not what we want. We want to play with the dispersion. Okay, so the dispersion will create a kind of effect like this into the border of the images of the image. So we don't want too much, because here it's a little too strong, but it can happen in real photography that you have this kind of chromatic aberration into the border of the image. So it reminds the real photos, and it's good to add a little, like 0.01 might be enough, you see, or 0.02 maybe. If you want to increase a little, you will have this kind of blurry alteration there. And yeah, it adds some depth into the image and create this nice effect over there. Not too much, just a little might be enough. Yeah, you can see here on the stars, it creates nice stuff. So yeah, let's keep it like that. Okay, good. We keep the lens distortion like this. And that's it for adding some glare into this image. Okay. Into the next video, we will see how to create some vignetting to finish our image, and it will be the end of this. And we will make some basic final color management for finish this image. So let's go for it into the next video. In this video, we will see how to add some vignettes. So let's go for it. What I would like to add is kind of highlight the left side to make feel that there is some light that is coming from here. Okay, so what I will do for this, I will just click and drag this and give me some space. I will organize all the glare here, so just by selecting everything and use Shift P to create a frame. Okay, so here we have the label, and we can call it glare. Okay, good. You can enable this. Maybe we can put it in light blue, something like that. Okay, good. And we continue our compositing over there with these two nodes. Okay, so here I just have to click and drag this one here. Let's go there. Now we would like to create a vignette. So a vignette, we have two ways of using it for the highlights, okay, and to focus on one part of the image. So that's what we will do for this image here. We will use the two techniques. So let's go there and add here a mask, an ellipse mask. You can see here the ellipse mask looks like this. You can manage here the width and the height. So let's go into something with 0.4 here. Might be okay. And 0.2, maybe 0.3. Let's say something like that. Okay. And then after we will move it into the left side with the X value, just like this. So maybe between 0.1 and 0.2, maybe 0.15, and a little higher, maybe, to see that this light comes from the sky. Okay. Now, what I would like to add is a blur. So we have here into the filters, we have some blur. So I will just take the classic blur here. okay? And into that blur, I will select the fast Gaussian here, okay? I will click on relative, like this, it's kind of percentage of the size of this image. And what I will do, I will just select a high value, like 35 or 30, something like this, okay? Something, yeah, might be good here, maybe 40 on this one to have this kind of highlights. Okay, not that bad. Maybe we can increase a little the height to have something like this. Yeah, looks better in my opinion. And increase a little the blur of this. Ah, no, it was good actually, like this. Okay, we keep it like this now. What I want to do now is add these highlights into my image. So I will just want something that is warm, like the sun. So I will add a color ramp to give some color into it. So I will go into that and search for a color ramp. We can see that here we will have this kind of color. Let's say somewhere here, a little reddish, like this, kind of skin color actually, okay? And then after we will just use the add option. So let's select the add here. No, we cannot because it's inside the frame. So let's add a color mix color over it. And let's take add just like that. And we will add the image. We will add this to the image, okay? So by default, it will look like this, something not really realistic. But what we can do is just decrease a little the factor, like 0, between 0.1, I would say, 0.1 or 0.2. Let's see. This is a little too high in my opinion. Let's go into 0.15. Okay, looks not bad here. I would like to increase a little the size of it, maybe the size of the blur. Like let's put 40 over there and let's put 50 over there. Yeah, I prefer this. It looks a little better. And let's put it a little higher, like 0.7. Something like that looks good, okay? You can see that now we have this nice effect. Maybe 0.12 might look enough, okay? So now we have this kind of nice light effect that comes from this side of the image, okay? Maybe we can move it just a little into this direction. Okay, looks not bad. Good, so now we have this kind of gradient that we did add into the image, so it can be very good to add this effect. Now we would like to add the final vignette, so let's go for another ellipse, okay? So we will duplicate this one and have a look at it. So here we will put everything for at 0 for, oh sorry, it's not really this, so 0.5 I guess, yeah. And 0.5 I guess here, okay, to have everything in the middle. Now I will increase the width until I go just before the border of the image, okay, so something like this might look okay, and same for the height. Okay, and even for the width a little less, maybe just something like that. Good. Now we will need another blur. It will be the same one but with less blur, maybe 25% might look okay. We will see if you increase the blur in that case, for example, you will have to decrease the size, okay? So maybe here a 0.7 might work with a height at 0.45 or something like that to have this kind of nice blurry effect. And you can push this at 35 if needed, if you want something that is less aggressive, let's say. Okay, so maybe I will put 0.65 to decrease that and 0.4 over there. Okay, good. So now we will have a nice vignette to add this, and we will just duplicate that. We will not use the add, but we will use the multiply, and we will just add this one here and this one here, And now we'll have this, and we will can focus more into the center of the image, just like so, as you can see. Okay, and more you add, more you will have. Okay, so don't add too much, maybe 0.5 is enough. And what you can do is focus more into the center of the character, so maybe something like here. And for this we will just go there with the mask a little more into the x-axis, somewhere around here might be okay. Okay, and now you can see here the result. So if I increase that, it will be only into my character. That works far better. Okay, let's put maybe 0.6, and now we did finish with the image. Okay, so yeah, you can see that from this in the beginning, remember, from this in the beginning, we had this flat render, a little poor. Okay, we went to this to add some color. We went to this to add some here ambient occlusion, to this to add some mists, after this to add the background. Okay, then after this to add the glare, then this to add the here the dispersion around, and this finally to add the vignetting if needed. Okay, maybe this is a little too strong, maybe 0.4 might be enough. Don't add too much for this. And yeah, you can see that you have a quite nice image to add now for your project. So here what we can do, it's a last color grading. So if you want, you can add just a few color grade, like here. Let's go into color adjust. So we can use always an RGB curve in the end, it's always good. We can use always here, let's go there with adjust here with hue saturation value. And a last one that I like to use sometimes, it's the color here. It must be into the adjust here. You saturate. No. It must be the color correction. No, it's the color balance here. Sorry. Good. So we'll have this. Okay, nice. So here, how works the RGB curve? So you have the main color here. So you will manage the entire image. So if you want, for example, to add some light or to make a kind of more contrasty look, you can just with the basic color. If you feel that you have not too much green not green enough into your image, you add some green, just like this, okay? So simple. If you want to remove the dot, you go there and you remove the dot and you keep the original. Let's say you want more blue, you go there and add more blue if needed. Let's say I will keep it like this. So before it was like this, now it looks like this. I like this one, okay? A little more contrasty. So here you have the hue saturation value in case you want more or less saturation. So let's say 0.8 for add less or 1.2 to add more. Be careful, the saturation in Blender, it really saturates too much after 1. So yeah, you can play with the hue as well, like for example 0.45 if you want to add another look, but don't go too far from 0.5, okay? And here you have this one that is quite interesting as well. So here will be for the dark values, this one for the middle values, and this one for the light values, so the white values. So what we can do in this, it's for example contrast the main colors into our image. So what we can do, for example, we can add some blue inside the dark areas, for example, and we can add some red and yellow into the light areas. So it will kind of contrast just with color and have a more interesting look, okay? So yeah, it can be good in that case. I like this one. I would like to come back here and maybe increase a little the dark parts. Yeah, not that much. Maybe like this, it might be okay. Good. Okay, so now we have this kind of image. Looks pretty cool. Okay, so before the gradient, before managing the colors, we had this. Okay, kind of boring here, and even better with this. Okay, so don't hesitate to play with the settings. You can play with the values as well. If you want to increase only the dark values, you can go there. Be careful because we have a lot of dark into our image, so it can be a little complicated to manage here. So I come back with a simple value at 1 here, just like that. Okay, and yeah, you can just play with the settings. Maybe you want to add more highlights into your image. Okay, so you can play with that as well. So don't hesitate to play with all of the settings. It will give you a lot of control to your image to finish and to have a nice ambient into your image. So here we have the finished render. So now we can come back here into our rendering and make the final image. In case it's an image, you just go there and increase the level here of samples and make the final image, and you can save it like that. What you can do as well, and what is really interesting with compositing, because all of this you can make it with a 2D software very easily as well, like Photoshop or something like that. But except for dispersion, I'm not sure. I didn't see that, but I don't know Photoshop as well as Blender. But here, what is sure is that you can make this for an entire animation while you have your setup that is ready. When you, for example, maybe make an animation for the droid here that's walking over there, okay, here you will have the entire setup done and you have to do nothing. It will calculate all the compositing for all the images that you will render during the animation. Be careful for the movements of cameras, because if you have some movement of cameras here, you cannot use the background effect here because the background is still and will not move and will be framed on the camera. So it will be a little strange to see the sky moving as the rest is not moving when you move your camera. So in that case, just use a basic HDRI setup and remove this background option, okay? In case you have some camera movements. If you don't have camera movements, this setting will work perfectly and you will add this effect to your entire animation. So it's a very powerful feature. That's why I wanted to show you that. So there are a lot of things that I cannot cover during this training. It's the last video. It's something. We did spend a lot of time. So okay, I did not cover everything for sure. There are a lot of things that needs to be covered for Blender. I wanted to cover the most basic things for each part of Blender, and you have already strong basics to start working with this tool now. So if you did follow everything and practice a little, I really recommend to practice the exercises that I give you, to not only watch the videos but practice more and more until it becomes natural and you don't have to think too much about that to make it. Okay, so yeah, don't hesitate to practice and practice again. Start to make your own project with all the tools and the assets that you have in Blender. For example, make some nice environments or things like that. It's very easy with the assets. Make your own creations and be creative, be happy with Blender and enjoy creation. I'm always happy to answer the questions in the chat if needed. And yeah, see you. I hope you did enjoy this. Don't hesitate to give a nice rating if you did like this training. And I hope we will see you We will see each other with your creations on the chat or your questions. And yeah, stay safe, happy blending, and goodbye.